Morning is from Deuteronomy chapter 15, verses 7 to 11. If there is among you anyone in need, a member of your community in any of your towns within the land that the Lord your God has given you, do not be hard-hearted or tight-fisted toward your needy neighbor. You should rather open your hand, willingly lending enough to meet the need, whatever it may be. Give liberally and be ungrudging when you do so, for on this account the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in all that you undertake. Since there will never cease to be some in need on the earth, I therefore command you, open your hand to the poor and the needy neighbor in your land. I was first introduced to STEP MC in 2010 when it started. We have since grown tremendously and have a pilot group in Lindsborg that are running their own program, and we are looking into the possibility of starting a program in Moundridge. STEP MC works with families that are committed to finding a way to make a sustainable living for their families. And I will first introduce to you Austin Regier, who is the director, and he directs all sites for STEP MC. Austin.
Thank you, Bernie, and thank you all very much for welcoming me and my family, who you'll hear some from later, and STEP MC to your congregation this morning. As Bernie said, I'm Austin Regier. I'm an alumnus of Bethel College and now currently serving as the director of STEP MC. And an overview of our programming, Bernie said we're considering expanding to Moundridge, and we're excited about that. We offer trainings, so for people who are in poverty, they would enter into an 18-week course where they'd learn more about some of the hidden rules of poverty and some of the hidden rules of middle class. And for people who aren't in poverty, you could take a 6-hour training, which Sherry will put a plug in for later on. That also hopefully would help people like most of you probably explore what poverty looks like. And I think that you'd find some unexpected things in that course. But I think the main thing that I want to put forth this morning is how STEP MC does things differently. And I think for those of you who've been involved, you see that. We define poverty not as a lack of financial resources, but as a lack of resources in general. And the financial piece is just one small part of that. And we believe that every person is striving to do their best. And we focus on the unique strengths and gifts and talents that all people hold. I would bet you that people in poverty know how to do some things that people in middle class don't know how to do. And instead of handing out rent assistance or food stamps or gas cards, we build relationships. And it's really as simple as that. Our mission is to walk alongside people until they overcome poverty. And what does that look like on the ground? Well, it's complicated and it's messy and it's individualized and it's long. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that if we're trying to approach a complex social issue like poverty and not have it be messy and complicated and long, then I don't think we're addressing all parts of that issue. And more than any other organization that I've seen or worked with, I think STEP MC does a good job of that, of holding the truth or the reality, the struggle, the pain of a social issue of poverty in one hand, and then the other hand holding this hope and recognition of human resilience and human strength. And I think that that's something that's really difficult to do, and we fail at it a lot of the time, and I also think it's really important. I think you'll probably have heard people say, oh, we're not offering a handout, we're offering a hand up. And I think I would take that one step further. I would say, we're not offering a handout or a hand up, we're offering an outstretched hand and saying, I see you, I hear you, you're important, and may I walk with you. And I think that this is very Jesus-esque. Jesus didn't approach people who are outcasts and say, like, here's a Dave Ramsey book and a $50 food voucher that you can go and buy something at the store that I think you should buy. Like, Jesus chose to radically love people and to ask them to be in relationship with him. And I think that that's part of what we strive for, is to ask people to be in relationship with us. And and I think that is just a really beautiful thing. So I invite you to enter into a relationship with us and to enter into a relationship with people that you maybe don't normally come into contact with. So thank you so much for your support, and I'll let other people do the heavy lifting for how Step MC really impacts people.
Thank you very much. The first step into the Step MC program, is to take a class called Getting Ahead, where we learn about causes of poverty and how we can address some of the systemic issues that cause poverty. This morning, we have the privilege of hearing from Rebecca, who is a team leader. And she's going to share a bit of her story, or what STEP has done for her, or whatever God has laid on her heart. Thank you, Rebecca.
Before Step MC, I remember a time I had $10 for groceries to last 2 weeks for me and my daughter. I wasn't on food stamps at the time because I was too prideful. I was working full-time to support us. I remember standing in the grocery store feeling broken, like a failure as a mother because I couldn't provide for us. Sorry. I didn't know what to do. I've had other struggles, but this is the one that stands out as a way to describe what it's like in poverty. I was excited to join Step MC, even though I wasn't sure what it was all about. I just knew it was where I needed to be. I knew a couple people that had come through the Step MC before that were excited about it, and they encouraged me to get involved. The biggest piece of knowledge I gained through Getting Ahead was that the mindset of being in poverty is great for survival, making us really good at putting the fires out, but doesn't help us learn how to not create them. Since joining, I've gotten all of my family's legal documents, a new job, my driver's license, my vehicle back, and our own apartment. I don't feel so alone now. I know that there are others in the same situation as me, and I've loved watching my classmates grow along with me. I'm a lot more confident in my community, and I feel accepted. Honestly, I feel better about myself than I ever have, and I have a sense of security because of this program. My partners are very caring, and they help motivate me to stay on track and pursue my dream of going back to college to become a physical therapist assistant. They're very encouraging and accepting of me, and they show my kids love. I feel grateful for them because they genuinely care about me. We have a monthly get-together. It feels refreshing to know that there are people out there that care and that want to help. I don't think I ever gave up hope that my future could be better, but now I can see the path to get there.
We see God here by our side, walking our way. The scripture reading from the New Testament this morning is from Matthew 25. Matthew 25, verses 34 to 40. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, "Come, you that are blessed by God, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was a prisoner, and you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me." After graduation of the Getting Ahead class, the people, I don't want to call them students because they're not really that, but they are matched with a team partner. The team partner is often someone from middle class that has the connections to help the team leader get to what is needed. A mechanic to get the car fixed, how to spruce up your resume for the particular job you're looking for. Just a variety of different things. Jay has been a team partner. I think this is your second. Is this your second? Third. Okay. He is now partner with his third team leader. And so I've asked him to share this morning about being a team partner.
About 10 years ago, our Sunday school class that I'm a part of, we did a book study led by Pam Schrag called Bridges Out of Poverty. And it was kind of my first introduction to the hidden rules in different classes and a lot of the things that cause and are prevalent when there are people in poverty. So this was my first introduction, and of course it was shortly after that the STEP MC program was beginning, and I went through a one-day training for partners to kind of understand these different rules and some of the things that we were to do and not to do as being a partner. And so that was kind of my beginning. And as Bernie had said, I am now on my third. And as kind of has been said, the one thing a partner does is basically you are an intentional friend. You become a friend to that person, and you support that person. You stay with that person until that person and work with that person to maintain the goals that that team leader has set. You're not allowed to give them financial gifts, but you are a friend. You are to be with them. We meet the first Thursday of every month. It's called a match day. We begin with a meal, and then the whole group meets together. We go around and do new and goods. We say something that's new and good that has happened to us within the last week, to kind of get us started on a positive note. And then we spend the rest of the time meeting with our team leader and go through the goals that they have set, and basically just have an evening of conversation and work with whatever difficulties they're coming up with, whatever joys they have, and just spend time learning to know them. When I got started on my very first one, I was still working part-time at the lumberyard. And when I started, I was working till 5:30, and I always had to work on Thursdays. So that always was kind of a difficult because supper started at 5:15 in McPherson, and I was working till 5:30, so that meant I had to hustle home. Usually I had to change clothes because working at the lumber yard was always kind of messy. You can ask Galen about that. And I cleaned up a little bit, and generally didn't get there in time for supper. And there was times that I said, why am I doing this? I'm tired. I don't really have time to do this. It's difficult. And then I would sit around in this circle and hear the new and goods. I'd hear people's stories like Rebecca shared this morning, and it just kind of uplifted me. And Bernie said earlier how we all grow in this relationship, and that is certainly true in my situation. It is an uplifting experience. And I would go home and I say, I could not really afford not to be here tonight. So it was the exact opposite of the question I was asking when I was going. And you can ask, well, what have I learned? And how have I been helped in this process? Number one, I have learned that the rules for functioning in society are set by middle-class people. They're set by people who have privilege, and they're not set by people who are underprivileged or in lower class. And I discover that for them to function, they have to learn how to function in a class that is not necessarily familiar to them, and is sometimes very difficult because the rules aren't set by them, they're set by someone else. I also learned that I, as a middle-class white male, I'm privileged. I never realized that when I was growing up. I always thought everybody was kind of the same, and I discovered that I really have, because of where I was born and into what family I was born, I had privileges that many others did not have. Another thing I learned was that as I was growing up, I remember seeing often on TV, on the radio, in books, people saying that if you work hard in our country, you can get ahead. You can do what you want to do. Well, I want to tell you that that is a myth. I have seen people that have worked much harder than I have that have not gotten near as far as I have. Now, don't get me wrong, working hard is important, but working hard by itself does not get you ahead. And that's why I think the STEP program is so successful, because what it does is it connects you with people that have connections. And if I think of all the jobs that I have had throughout my life, almost every one of them I have received by having some connection somewhere. And if you don't have those connections, it's going to be very difficult for you to get that particular job. By partnering with a team leader or having a team leader partner with someone from middle class, it gives them that automatic connection, which broadens that connections and therefore gives them more of a chance of becoming successful in meeting their goals that they have set. And that has been kind of the exciting thing for me. It's not always easy. It's sometimes a little bit uncomfortable, particularly when you meet for the first time and you have to somebody you don't know at all, and you have to kind of get through that initial contact of getting to know them. But I have found that in all three of my team leaders that I have been partnered to, it's been a wonderful experience. And we meet together at least once a month at match night, and then usually try to at least one other time during the month. Just yesterday, the fourth Saturday of every month, they have a men's coffee at 10 o'clock at the First United Methodist Church in McPherson. Kind of interferes with my farmers market, but I decided I'm going, and I have gone now for the last several times. And it's another opportunity for me to be with my team leader. There's a couple of other people, team leaders there, as well as then a few of us that are middle class partners. And it's just an interesting time. It's very unstructured. We just have conversation. We talk about lots of different things. Yesterday, we got into some really deep scientific discussion. It was almost over my head, but it was kind of exciting to hear. But it's a way of getting to understand why people are in the positions they're in, and that often it's not because they chose those. Certainly, there are people in poverty because it's generational. They were born into a family that's in poverty. Some people have made some bad choices and have gotten into poverty because of that. But it doesn't make any difference how they got there. It's when they decide they want to improve, you get paired up, and as a partner, it's a wonderful experience. And I would have not changed my ability to do that for anything. It's been a wonderful experience.